Right, and I quote, "There is no appropriate punishment system to apply to terrorists in the contemporary world. What, for example, would be an appropriate punishment for the perpetrators of the Charlie Hebdo murders? The deterrence aspect of prison simply isn't relevant to terrorists, nor even is death. What's left?" End quote. Now, Andrew, civilization has asked itself these questions before. If I remember correctly, treason in Britain, when the kingdom was trying to take over another nation, and sort of subjugate it from within, well, that's approximately equivalent to the same concept. Now, the kings of old had plenty of deterrents devised to stop the realm from being torn apart by ideological terror. It's happened before, hasn't it?
Yes, I think that's the problem. I think modernity cannot countenance, democracy cannot countenance the kind of drastic steps that kings of old embraced, with the sword and the guillotine and so forth. But yeah, I think it's a good analogy.
Well, you say here that, well, really the problem is not that we don't know what to do, or not that we haven't solved these problems before, but the thing we've got that's new this time is the progressive mind, and progressive societies find themselves unable to speak the language of terror, and because they can't speak terror, they can't write laws to counteract it. Well, how do you solve a problem like that? Is it time for example, a reality check for our Western civilization?
Yeah, although I must say it is a challenge, because I really don't know if there is an answer in today's world. The kind of things that one could do to punish terrorists in the sense that they be taken off the stage of war or the conflict mean that they are all incarcerated for life, for example, or killed. I mean, those are the only absolute, if you like, not just punishments, but ways of dealing with the whole notion of terrorism. But in a modern world, that's not acceptable. So I think we're in a difficult situation.
Well, your point in the article is that we've got a real-world problem to solve. This is not just hypothetical. And that problem is Guantanamo Bay, where we've got a whole stack of alleged terrorists basically cooling their heels for decades. Now, you note that the former US President Barack Obama promised the bleeding heart liberals and Democrats that he would close the facility down. And of course, he didn't. Did Obama have somewhat of a revelation?
I think he faced reality. I think he was the one that got a reality check when it was actually his, when he confronted the reality, he realized that it was dangerous to do what he wanted to do, which was to close it down and, disperse the terrorists. There is no answer. That's the problem.
Well, considering considering that even the most liberal of Democrats realizes that these policies are too dangerous, you can't release a terrorist into the wild, why didn't someone like Barack Obama come back and explain to the people, well, actually, progressive politics, you're wrong, you can't just release criminals? Why don't we ever see this conversation come back the other way and have it explained? Surely that would at least help the West to understand what's going on.
I think it's too embarrassing politically to admit that you had this kind of unrealistic view before when you tried to be a world leader and you didn't know that.